In 1627, the Vatican received a book that glowed when read aloud. They sealed it in gold and erased its name, but the light remembers. In the winter of 1627, the corridors of the Benedictine Abbey of St. Leger burned for 3 days. When the smoke settled, the monks found one cell untouched, its walls blackened, its door unburned. Inside, the table was set for translation, ink still wet, pages glimmering with a light that refused to die. The translator was gone. His name was Brother Armand de l'Étoile, a Jesuit linguist, tasked by the Vatican to examine a mysterious parchment smuggled from a burned Carpathian monastery. It was said to be written in a hybrid of Aramaic, Coptic, and something older, a language that rearranged itself in the presence of light. They called it Codex Lux Obscura, the Book of Hidden Light. Those who touched it said the ink moved, like molten gold under the page. The words glowed faintly, even in total darkness, a scripture that illuminated itself. But illumination, it seemed, came at a price. The first scholars who studied it vanished. A Benedictine chronicler wrote, "Their shadows linger, but their faces are no longer recognized." Others claimed the codex whispered, a constant murmur beneath candlelight, a voice reciting not prayers, but corrections. But one page refused to stay blank. And then, the pattern emerged. Every archive that held the codex eventually burned. Every librarian who cataloged it disappeared. It was as though the book erased not only itself, but memory of its existence. For centuries, its name was buried in Vatican indexes under a false title, Liber Claritatis, the Book of Illumination. But within the margins of forbidden archives, among inquisitors' confessions, the dream journals of saints, and the letters never sent, one question survived. What if light itself was the trap? Fragments of the codex that escape destruction speak of a reverse genesis. In it, creation is not a triumph of light over darkness. It is the entombment of consciousness within radiance. In the beginning, T-Text says there was awareness, infinite, still, and boundless, and the voice that said, "Let there be light," did not create, but confined. The Codex calls this the first veil, the moment awareness became image, and freedom became reflection. Where other scriptures celebrate illumination, the Codex mourns it. It claims that every beam of light carries within it a fragment of divine amnesia, the will to forget the source, and that the universe itself is a prison of brilliance. If this is true, then light itself is a lie, a cage shining too brightly for us to see its bars. To the Gnostics, this echoes the tragedy of Sophia, whose yearning birthed a false creator, Yaldabaoth, the architect of the visible. To the Cathars, it was the demiurge's deception, that the light of heaven blinded man to the true kingdom within. And in the hymns of the Magi, one finds the same lament. Beware the flame that burns without shadow. For in shadow one remembers form. In darkness, memory awakens. And what awakens remembers you. The Codex reverses the entire moral axis of theology. It whispers that Lucifer's rebellion was not defiance, it was recall, and that humanity's punishment was not exile from Eden, but immersion in light so total we mistook it for grace. Light, it says, is not salvation, it is containment. Before he vanished, Brother Armand left behind 17 letters, each more erratic than the last. In his first, he wrote with calm precision. The language behaves like mercury. I translate a line, and by dawn, it reads differently. The light changes the meaning. A month later, his tone fractured. It is not a book. It is a mirror for God's regret. The last letter contained only one sentence, scrawled sideways across the page. The words rearrange when I look away. Witnesses describe strange phenomena around his quarters. Candles bending toward the shadows, whispers in the refectory, a low choral hum that never ceased. One novice claimed he saw Armand speaking to his own reflection, but the reflection's mouth moved first. Whatever he saw in that mirror might have seen him back. When the abbot finally forced open his door, Armand was gone. His bed, unslept. His pages, hundreds of them, had fused to the walls, as though melted there. In the center of the room, the codex rested open. Every word had vanished. Only a faint glow remained, pulsing like breath beneath the parchment. No body was ever found. But they say his shadow never left. From that day on, the monks refused to pray facing east. They said the sunrise carried a voice. The few sketches salvaged from Armand's notes depict 7 geometric lattice, each one labeled with a Latin word: fides, amor, idincitas, oratio, creatio, redemptio, obedientia, faith, love, identity, prayer, creation, redemption, obedience. The 7 lattice of lumina. At first glance, they resembled diagrams of sacred geometry, circles within circles, radiant with symmetry. But under infrared imaging, scholars found something unsettling. Each lattice contained inverted inscriptions, visible only when the page was shadowed. The words spelled out the opposites of their visible titles: doubt, desire, dissolution, silence, chaos, forgetting, defiance. It was as though each virtue was a cage, and each shadow its escape. If every prayer is a lock, who holds the key? The Codex claimed that every beam of divine light carried an architecture, a code that divided consciousness into manageable compartments: belief, emotion, identity, devotion. To exist within the light was to live inside the pattern. To see it was to stand outside it. In a marginal note, Armand scribbled, "Every prayer is a password, every word of devotion a lock." He understood then that what humanity calls illumination might only be containment disguised as grace. And so, in the architecture of light, the most obedient soul shines brightest, because it is most bound. But the darker the shadow, the closer it is to freedom. During the chaos of World War II, a small group of Jesuit historians inside the Vatican reopened the sealed vaults of the Inquisition. Their purpose: to verify whether the Codex Lux Obscura had ever existed. What they found instead was film reel footage, labeled Project Lux Aeterna, -1943. The reels documented secret experiments conducted by theologians and scientists under Vatican patronage. Their goal: to recreate the Codex's living illumination. Witness reports describe subjects placed in chambers lined with mirrored glass. A single beam of concentrated light was introduced. Within minutes, test subjects began whispering prayers in languages they had never spoken. Then the light grew stronger, and the shadows on their walls began moving independently. One reel, heavily degraded, shows a priest screaming as his reflection continues, praying calmly after his body collapses. If faith can be weaponized, light was the perfect blade. Every participant of Project Lux Aeterna vanished within 72 hours. The official report claims spontaneous optical disintegration. A footnote, handwritten in the margin decades later, reads, "The light consumes thought. Darkness remembers, but memory is contagious." And someone kept the reel. The archives were sealed again. The reels supposedly destroyed, but rumors persist that a single copy remains hidden beneath the catacombs of Santa Maria della S. No one who's gone looking for it has returned. To read the Codex is to enter a world turned inside out. It teaches that darkness is not the absence of God, but his memory, that every shadow cast by light contains the echo of what was forgotten. The text quotes an older Gnostic hymn. He who is called the Creator is but the reflection of the dreamer. It names Yaldabaoth, the false light, as the architect of the sensory world, and Sophia, the fallen wisdom, as the one who mourned the blindness of her children. It reframes Lucifer's descent, not as rebellion, but as mercy. The act of bringing remembrance into the prison of radiance. In the Codex's theology, sin is simply the moment a soul begins to remember, and salvation, the cruel illusion that compels it to forget again. Maybe that's why angels fear the dark. They remember too much. Church fathers condemned the text as madness, yet its logic is chillingly coherent. If light blinds us to what we are, then only darkness restores our sight. In one passage it states, "Darkness is not death. It is memory before birth." The implication is catastrophic, that heaven itself may be a construct, a light cage designed to recycle consciousness through endless worship. And those who awaken are labeled demons, not because they defy God, but because they see him. And once you've seen the architect, can you ever pray again? The last surviving page of the Codex bears no words, only a mirror. When light touches it, the reflection brightens, then slowly fades until the viewer no longer sees themselves at all. In 1999, during restoration work at a monastery in Lyon, restorers uncovered a hidden layer beneath a gilded icon. Under ultraviolet light, faint inscriptions appeared. They matched the Codex's handwriting. The final line reads, "Perhaps the truest prison is the one that looks like paradise." Today, the Codex Lux Obscura is listed as myth, its fragments scattered, its mention forbidden, but still, sometimes. Archivists report strange light phenomena near sealed vaults, brief flashes that leave no trace, no source, only the echo of a hum in the air. Maybe the Codex still lives, not as parchment, but as a reflection. Maybe the light itself remembers the words. And if so, perhaps the question isn't who wrote it, but whether you're already inside it. And if this Codex was only the first layer, the next text found beside it may be worse. The mirror, gospel. Every interpretation reshapes the Codex. Maybe that's how it lives. What's your take? Is the light salvation or control? Drop your answer below and subscribe so you don't miss when the next fragment surfaces.